What is up, everyone? It is time to talk about the first two episodes of The Rings of Power. Just in case you need the basics on this one, it is Prime Video's The Lord of the Rings series, and the story in that series takes place before the events of Peter Jackson's Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings film trilogies. It takes place during a period called the Second Age, a time that many view as a time of peace, but Galadriel, who's played here by Morfydd Clark, she senses evil brewing and is eager to do whatever it takes to stop it, whether others out there are willing to help her or not. There is a whole lot more to this story than just that, though, because Rings of Power spans a number of different locations, and it also focuses on a rather large ensemble of main key characters. Before getting into some of those other characters, I did want to focus on Galadriel, though. Her experience thus far does feel like a really strong starting point, and I guess I would call it a core for this show, or at least at this point, 2 episodes in. Clark is just brimming with tenacity as Galadriel, and while she is clearly meant to be a protagonist you're rooting for, I really do appreciate how the show isn't making it easy for her. And personally, I think that that's something that'll likely make for a far stronger character arc ultimately, and also therefore a far stronger show. Rings of Power presents the concerns of the characters around Galadriel as very valid ones to have, and also clearly conveys that sometimes Galadriel's tactics for getting what she wants or needs, or I guess what Middle-earth needs for that matter, those tactics can be questionable. So the hope ultimately would be watching those two things influence one another for the better, Galadriel continuing to embrace what she knows is true, but figuring out better ways to fight it and inspire others to join that fight with her. Before I go any further into this review, you know, I always like for you all to know where my reviews are coming from in terms of my connection to the source material and also to the other films. And, you know, I like to do that especially in a case like this where I am well aware that this property has a massive and very, very dedicated fan base. So I have not read the books, and I consider myself a more casual fan of the film. So that is where I'm coming from right here. And, you know, it also feels well worth noting that I do know many out there are very, very passionate about this material, and I very much respect that. All I ask is that you respect this community here, and also the folks involved in making the show for that matter. You don't have to like Rings of Power, and you could say as much in the comments section of this video. It really is all good. All I ask is that you do so respectfully. So now that that is taken care of, back to the characters of Rings of Power. So going beyond Galadriel now, I'll start with my 2 favorite characters of these first 2 episodes, beginning with Markella Kavanagh, who plays Nori. She's a Harfoot. Kavanagh's performance is just fantastic, and I'm really, really enjoying exploring the details of the Harfoot lifestyle. But I think a big reason why this particular part of the show is just so incredibly appealing to me is because of the push-pull that Nori is experiencing, and also how much access Kavanagh gives us to her headspace while she's exploring that. Nori is a dedicated Harfoot who cares deeply about her family and also her community, but she also feels pulled elsewhere to bigger things out there. And I'm not going to spoil anything, of course, but there is a line that Kavanagh has in episode 2 that is just so beautifully and effectively delivered, where in just 4 words, Nori essentially dumps her entire inner conflict on you. That character is just brimming with promise to me right now, and I can't wait to explore her journey in future episodes. And the same goes for Nazanin Boniati's Bronwyn. She's a human character living in the Southlands. Again, in just 2 episodes like Kavanagh, Boniati is able to make you feel so many of the layers that Bronwyn is experiencing. It's not just laying everything out to make sure you know the basics. She is a mother. She is in a forbidden relationship with an elf. She's unhappy with how the Southlanders are being treated due to past events. She has a knack for leadership. They do clearly lay all that out, but the special thing here is how Boniati manages to give you a strong sense of how Bronwyn feels to be juggling all of those things that I just listed. And of course, that makes them mean more. It makes you instantly believe in what she cares about, and therefore makes you more invested in her goals. So Her particular storyline I absolutely love, but it also gets a real nice boost from how strong Tyro Muhaffadin and Ismael Cruz Cordova are in their roles as well. Muhaffadin plays Bronwyn's son, Theo, and he just strikes a real nice balance between selling him as a kid who is in over his head and can make mistakes, but also as someone who is very capable and willing to go above and beyond, especially when it's for his mother. And Cordova just has such incredible screen presence as Arondir. He is one of the elves assigned to patrol the Southlands. He's just got such a commanding presence when on screen without any dialogue. When he does have lines of dialogue, he delivers them with maximum authority, and you could feel it. He does a real stellar job of making Arondir a rather austere character, but without stripping him of his emotion. And when it comes to the more physical beats, I don't know how he can deliver any bigger. All right, going back down the line. I want to go back to the elves now. I am very much enjoying what Robert Aramayo is doing as a younger Elrond. Again, more casual Lord of the Rings movie fan right here, but Elrond feels, I would say, more youthful and distant from the movie version of the character than, let's say, what Clark is doing with Galadriel right now, and I'm really enjoying the difference between the two characters in that respect. Elrond's got a lightness and a positivity to him that I found quite infectious, and it's something that I wasn't quite expecting from the character, but I am really enjoying right now. And the same goes for Dorne and Disa, played by Owain Arthur and Sophia Namvete. Tonally, the dwarf material leans more into the comedy than the other parts of the show, and while I don't think it works as well as when the Harfoot storyline does it, it is working well enough, and it has left me really eager to see what happens when the more, I guess I would call it playful behavior, the snappy banter starts to crack and we get a better sense of what's really driving Dorne and Disa forward. Also, I have to say, one part of that storyline that I think is coming through especially nicely right now is how Dorne feels about his friendship with Elrond, particularly how much of Dorne's life Elrond's missed out on. Clearly, there are a lot of different types of characters and lifestyles featured in the Rings of Power, and if all of these beings are going to survive this situation, they'll have to come to understand one another, and I think this particular rift that we're seeing in these first two episodes is a really effective way to tap into that, and I really appreciate them starting to do that in, I guess I would say, a more grounded and personal manner. I'll leave the character roll call there and jump into some of the behind-the-scenes elements of the show. And, I know this particular thing was mentioned over and over again when the social media embargo first lifted, but it is true, and it really is one of the most impressive qualities of this series. We all know Amazon spent a pretty penny on the Rings of Power, and ultimately, what matters is that you could see it on screen. What matters is that it shows, and it most certainly does. The production value of this show is truly through the roof, and it's of the utmost importance in not only making you feel like this fantastical reality really does exist, but also that it is full of history, and they very much achieve all of that through costume design, production design, even the way the characters carry themselves and the way they're photographed. We get to see a whole lot of locations in these first two episodes of the show, and they are all especially rich in history and culture, and they're also just plain old beautiful to look at. Based on what we see in these first two episodes and knowing how many more regions are left to explore, I've just got extremely high hopes the behind-the-scenes team will continue to deliver A+ work, and I can't wait to see it. All right. Score time for the first two episodes of The Rings of Power. I am giving them 4 Deweys out of 5 on the Dewey Decimovie scale. The performances are great, the visuals are downright exceptional, and script-wise, I think they're doing a pretty solid job of teeing up a whole bunch of smaller missions and also the bigger battle to come. One of the main reasons I shaved off a point there is basically because these are the first 2 episodes of a massive, massive show. There are a lot of key places and characters to establish, and there's only so much you can do in roughly 2 hours of screen time. Personally, I think everything that I saw here works well enough, but some storylines are stronger than others thus far. But I am psyched to see my favorites of the bunch expand, and I also have really high hopes that some of the ones that don't work as well as those are gonna get stronger as the season progresses. So that right there is where I'm leaving you with the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power. I am looking forward to more. When you watch them, hit that comment section below and respectfully, that's the key word, respect. Respectfully express your own opinion right there. No spam. I will remove it. I hope you guys check it out. I can't wait to hear what you think. Before I let you go, Patreon shout out time. And we got a big group right here that includes Justin, Steven, Seth, Hoshi, Sam, Javier, Arturo, Kavi, James, Evan, Travis, and Carol. A whole bunch of longtime members right there. You've heard this before. I will say it again. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your support means the world to me. Can't express that enough. Thank you for being here. And a big thanks to everybody out there for watching this review. Do not forget to like and share before you leave it, and stay tuned. More reviews on the way very, very soon.